Thanks for coming out. Hey, I got up at 5 a.m., ran 4 miles, came back, made a vegetable smoothie for breakfast, did 2 loads of laundry, mopped, vacuumed the floors. And that's all I remember about that dream. Welcome to Lower Yellowstone's 90th annual meeting. Let's give Leroy Strassheim and his crew a round of applause for a good meal tonight. Yeah. Came with me. I would also like to thank Greg Wheeler of Basin Electric for providing the sound and video for our meeting as well. Thank you, Greg. We'll be giving a $50 bill credit to those who stay through the entire business meeting, both in person and online. The credit will be reflected on your July bill. On behalf of the board and our staff, thank you for joining us tonight, both in person and those participating virtually. I'm Al Thiessen, the board chair, and I officially call this meeting to order. I want to call on directors Dennis Nelson for the pledge and Greg Ruschendorfer for the invocation.
And if you would please remain standing for the invocation after we finish the pledge. If you would all join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic will stand one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we honor and respect the right to assemble. We ask for your guiding hands on this meeting. Help us to remember this is the meeting of the membership. Keep us focused on that mission. We pray for the safety of our employees as they work every day on our behalf. And may you all be blessed with good health. And God bless the United States of America.
Pat. The annual meeting notice was mailed to all the members, published on our website, and also in the monthly magazine. I have a proof of mailing showing the annual meeting notice and annual report were sent on May 14th. So on behalf of the board, I'm happy to report that we have 184 members present here tonight, which is sufficient to transact the business as stated in the notice of this 90th annual meeting.
All right. Well, now I get to take over for just a few seconds. And I hear a little feedback there, Greg. So normally Alan has done the introductions of the board, and then I said, hey, can I try that tonight? So he's allowed me to do it a little different. So I'm going to introduce the board of Lower Yellowstone for representing, and please, would you board members stand up so they can see you when I announce you? And the other thing, too, I want to say is these guys are very dedicated. I am super lucky and as members you are, too, to have dedicated board members like this. It's not every day. It's not a job that they do once a month. It's every day. And so they put a lot of time in for us. Representing District 1, Jim Vitt. Representing District 2, Colin Gardner. Representing District 3, Tim Franzen. Representing District 4 is Dennis Schmier. Representing District 5 is Dennis Nelson. Representing District 6 is Greg Ruschendorfer. And last but not least, representing District 7 is Alan Thiessen.
Thanks, Jason. We also have a few guests here tonight. If you could give a wave or something, that'd be nice. Our attorney from Farm Holden, Henkel, and Terraza, Dana Henkel, is here tonight with us. Tim Fulton, Director of Mid-Yellowstone Electric. Joe Schiffer, Director of Yellowstone Electric. Bring up. Alan Bowie, Director of Yellowstone, or Mid-Yellowstone Electric. There, let's try that. Reese Stahl, Director of Mid-Yellowstone Electric. Dennis Johnson, Mid-Yellowstone. Lana Bychek from Golden West. My shock, I'm sorry, I blew it. Dale Schweigert from Golden West. We have Joe Coleman here from the Montana Electric Cooperative Association. Josh Kramer with the North Dakota Association. Anthony Larson, Director of Slope Electric and also on the Basin Band. David Simmons with HDR Engineering. Eric Shields with HDR. Justin Boyer with Upper Missouri Power Co-op. And Keegan Carey with Upper Missouri Power Co-op. And Dwayne Kraut from North Dakota Association of Electrical.
All right. Well, thank you for all the other cooperative guests that showed up tonight. So, as you can see, we're doing something a little different here tonight. Usually, Alan and I give two separate reports. You hear a combination of things, and so this year we decided to try something a little different. We're gonna go on a limb here, and we're gonna do a report together. So you're gonna see a little back and forth, and we're gonna sprinkle in some other co-op people into this, and so we'll see how it goes tonight. So hopefully you enjoy it. So I'm gonna start off with our financials. So last year we announced to you that we had to get a new auditing firm. They've been very good. Summers McNay and Company out of Billings did our audit this year. They report that we're in a strong financial condition right now, and the cooperative has received an unmodified opinion on its financial statements, which is the highest level that you can get of assurance from an auditor. This reflects that the financial processes, the policies, and any of our accounting practices meet or exceed the industry standards, along with any of the recommended practices that we have through the accounting of our U.S. So,
our total utility plant was just over $127 million. Our long-term debt, $47 million. Our margins in 2025 were $7.3 million. And this year we are planning to pay $2.25 million in capital credits. We take pride in our clean audit and work hard to keep the co-op's financial status stable. Thank you, Summers McNay and Company, for assisting with the audit and other work during the year.
You know, just like Alan just said, we are budgeting for $2.25 million in capital credits this year back to the membership, and I know that's the largest retirement since I've been manager with this co-op. I think that's an awesome thing for us. It stays consistent with our retirement rotation. And I just wanted to throw a little graphic up here for you. Over the past 10 years, Lower Yellowstone has paid out around $18 million in capital credits to the membership, which shows our strong position we have and our commitment to continue revolving that capital back to those members.
The board and the staff regularly evaluate our financial position to determine the rotation and the amount of capital credits retired to the members. We balance our capital credit retirement with the reliability of the system We strive to maintain a level and balance that works for past, present, and future members.
Yeah, that's right. You know, cooperatives do have a much different business model than most of our other utility neighbors. They are more focused on making money and keeping stocks high or profits where for their investors, where we are focused on our reliability to the members. We are focused on our cooperative principles, which you have heard me talk about for numerous years, and of course our employees. And you know, to be reliable, we do have to focus on the grid itself, but first we must secure that wholesale power supply before we do anything.
Last year, I reported on the rate changes of our power suppliers the Western Area Power Administration had passed on to us. This year, Basin Electric Power Cooperative began raising the wholesale power costs due to the need to build more generation and transmission to secure our energy future.
You know, that's right. As Alan pointed out, WAPA, Western Area Power, they started upgrading the dams. You heard me and Alan talk about that last year. Everywhere from, you know, Fort Peck is getting upgrades, Garrison, Oahe, Fort Randall, all the way through. There's billions of dollars that WAPA has got to spend in order to keep that hydroelectric power flowing, and they're expensive. But they are also facilities that we need because that hydroelectric power is very important to you, the members. It's some of our cheapest form of power we have right now in this region. You know, and as Alan also has pointed out in the past, he gave a last year report on Basin Electric's role in the energy supply. Well, as you heard him say, they've had to update their wholesale power costs to us due to generation and transmission that they are now seeing having to do upgrades with over the past several years. This load growth that we've seen has led to additional natural gas resources to meet those increasing energy demands. One of them recently they brought online here in 2025 is one you've probably seen in the papers, news, especially being so close to us, is our Pioneer Station. It's 40 miles north of us here. It was originally built in 2013, and we've added to it 3 times. And this last addition increased the capacity of that gas-fired plant to 803 megawatts. So the 580 that we added there was at the time one of the largest additions we had done in many years at Basin Electric. Just to give you a rough idea what 580 megawatts means, if we were to serve just residential homes with that 580 megawatts, it would serve roughly 290,000 homes on an average. So that kind of gives you a scale of what 580 megawatts looks like.
As Jason stated, our business model is different than other utilities, and we want our members to feel secure about their energy future. To do this, Basin decided to build another gas-fired generation station. The Bison Generation Station is located roughly 70 miles northeast of us, near the town of Epping, North Dakota. Construction started in late 2025 and should be completed by 2030. This station is built to meet the current and future energy needs of the members, along with the resource adequacy during peak times in the year. With 2 745 megawatt units, the combined cycle power plant will produce approximately 1,490 megawatts. This is huge, making it one of the largest electric generation projects in co-op history. I'm sure many of you have seen reports about the rapid growth of data centers and how utilities are building generation sources to power the AI and the cryptocurrency business. The Basin Electric cooperatives have taken proactive steps to address this issue through a special program for large technology loads. Under this program, companies must apply and complete an engineering study to determine the infrastructure needed to serve their operations. They are required to cover the cost of their service based on their specific load requirements. The generation that Jason and I just reported on is not for any technology load growth. It's for general growth in the basin footprint, along with resource adequacy to protect us during extreme weather conditions where loads peak or there is a loss of infrastructure.
Yeah, that's right. The growth in our transmission and generation resources forced that wholesale power increase, of course, and especially from Waupun Basin. There are two suppliers. Our region does have the lowest power cost, though, in the nation, and keeping up with that generation and transmission, though, is important to our energy security as well. So, to evaluate the wholesale power costs, we do conduct annual cost of service studies within the co-op. This study helps us ensure that we are allocating fairly all the costs that the co-op accrues through our wholesale power costs and through our own system to each member and rate class. With most electric co-ops, the power bill is roughly 75 to 85% of our total expenses over the year. So those changes in that power cost from Basin and WAPA definitely shift for us, and that's the main driver in our rate structure. However, the growth we have been experiencing at Lower Yellowstone across our territory allows us to spread that cost of our power supplier among more members and more kilowatt hours. The 2026 cost of service study we did for this year showed that we did not need a rate adjustment. So there is no rate adjustment for 2026. The question is, though, how long will it take WAPA and Basin to update their systems, build out these new facilities to serve the membership's load demands, and will that affect the future rates?
There's no crystal ball, though we are aware that we're behind in generation and transmission resources in this country as a whole. Most of these facilities were 60 plus years old and have not been upgraded. They were also built during a time when the grid was not under the kind of demand pressure that we see now. Just like our power suppliers have been upgrading their facilities, we have projects that we are upgrading various parts of our system. And this is going to continue for many years. The system's been there for a long time. The cost of performing these upgrades is high, and if we do nothing, the cost will end up being even higher.
That's true, and outside of the extreme weather conditions that we do see, and we have seen already this year, our outage numbers have been very low, which is a testament to the ongoing commitment we have to the system maintenance, our grid reliability, and we want our members to feel confident in the dependability of their power supply, not to have and worry about their lights coming on or not having that power when they need it. So last year, I introduced two projects to you that I said would give us our ability to serve our membership better. We started construction on the COP switchyard, which you see up there on the screen. That's up on 201 in May of 2025. And throughout the remainder of 2025, we built this switchyard, which we energized then in December 2025. So it was a pretty quick build, and it went really well. I want to thank the landowners and that worked with us, because that's important to have landowners who will work with us to get these new facilities. This is an important facility for us in the future. It's a switch yard. It's not actually a substation, and what that means is it will allow us to tap that point and go to other areas with either new transmission, upgrade transmission, or also serve other load growth that may come in that area. Along with the COP switchyard, we also, at the same time, we started construction on new substation just north of Sioux Pass, which many of you who have been around for a while know our legacy Sioux Pass substation, which is no longer energized, but we built a new sub just north of there. You can see it on the map, called McGinnis. It's just a short distance, of course, from Sioux Pass. The goal was to center our substation a little better than Sioux Pass was, and to meet some demand growth, but also it gives us more flexibility in that northern area all the way to the river. So this project did allow us to upgrade one of the oldest substations we have in our system in Sioux Pass, and a lot of the transmission line in that area. So it was a great project for us. And again, I have to thank the membership for, allowing us to have easements and land, work with you on the land. So both the substation and the switchyards, they came online, of course, here in early 26. They're great examples of how we continue to update and improve our system to meet both the current and the future load as best as we can predict, so that, again, you don't have to worry about if the lights are going to stay on. The transmission grid we have built as well will soon see another addition. Recently, we started planning. Some of you maybe north of town here have seen Bo Kindop, who's been out lately doing some land work or right-of-way work. So we've got some new transmission line that we'll be building from our Iverson sub, which is just north of Sydney, to a point on our Spring Lake line, we call it, which goes from the Fairview West Wappa sub all the way over to our Spring Lake sub. So you're going to see some activity in that area, and that what it does, that's a vital project for us, really. All along, reliability is what we talk about all the time in the board meetings and our staff meetings. This project here will affect a very large percentage of the substations in our system. This new line allows us to have what's called a loop feed, and a loop feed allows us to serve the many substations from different delivery points. So again, it puts in the reliability in the system. If we have an outage on one side of our delivery, we can switch it over to another. Very minimal disruption to the membership. And those two sources, that's huge for us. And so you're going to see over the next at least 10 years, transmission grid is going to get multiple loop feeds put in where it makes sense. But also the distribution side. You'll see our operations people out there working on lines, and you'll go, well, those seem like they're new. Well, there could be a reason. We're out there putting in these multiple feeders to help keep the power on at any time. Let it be maintenance, outage, weather. It can be multiple things. So those loop feeds are important to us. And we're always looking for different ways to create these different reliabilities throughout our system. And this happens especially in our transmission. So nearly half of our substations will get affected by this. We do have on both sides of the river, on the North Dakota side too, up towards Sanderson. Many of you may know that. That's from the Bainville side all the way to Marley, Trenton area. We are doing the same thing there. We're working with our neighbors at Montra Williams. They have loop feeds with us at our Sanderson sub, at our Trenton and Williston substation. So the reliability is getting put into the system. But I can't stress enough. I want to thank the members. I want to thank the landowners who have given us the accommodations to work with them. They understand that, we don't go put in lines to make your fields look bad or anything like that. And these projects are needed. They're necessary to ensure that energy future and stability stays there. Now, in the past, you may have seen our pull testers and crews. There's a picture of a truck up there with EXO. That's our pull testers. You see our meter tester. That's Dan in the picture there. Our tree trimmers. Those are important pieces of the puzzle as well. Reliability, like it says, comes in many forms. Right now, we have pull testers out in the countryside. You may have seen it. Kelly and his crew, they schedule these guys in sections. And we try to hit the whole grid over an 8-year period. That means we test every pole in the system. What this does, I think, like I started off with our outages being low, it definitely proves that when we have these pole tests and we know what poles are bad and go replace them, it pays off when there's windstorms. Recently there was a windstorm back in December that much of Montana, our neighboring co-ops had a lot of issues. And luckily for us, we didn't have hardly any. We had one. and compared to some of our western neighbors who had entire systems down. So I think we're pretty proud of what we've done with our maintenance, and it pays off. So along with the pole testing and right-of-way clearing, it's just it's important. Again, I want to thank the members for allowing us to work with them. You know, one of the things that we struggle with at times, like when we're doing tree trimming, I know trees are scarce here and they're protective, and I've heard from the operations crew this year that the members that we were working with there were very accommodating to them. So again, thank you all. But we have also performed a lot of other line upgrades, both overhead and underground. These replacements are due to old infrastructure for the most time, but it also reduces a risk. And last year, you seen me, or you heard me talk about, and I showed you a little glimpse of the wildfire mitigation. I know we had a legislative talk from Mecca about wildfire mitigation, but that risk is real. And like before we got this nice rain here this past week or so, we were on edge at the co-op. I know I was. I mean, it's a big deal. You know, we don't want to start any fires. That's not what we want to do. So we took a lot of different. We do a lot of different things to try to reduce that risk. And so when you see our guys out doing this stuff, like replacing overhead and underground, we're building those overhead lines to a standard that will reduce the overhead fire risk, but then also in the underground portion, we may be putting some overhead to underground that will in certain areas that make sense. And so all of it does is it reduces our exposure, and again, it reduces the rate piece to the member.
Speaking of risks, one way we have strengthened and protected the co-op is through collaboration with our neighboring co-ops. And many of you have seen this in the past, the collaboration between Lower Yellowstone, Mid Yellowstone, and Golden West over the years. I'd like to invite 3 directors to the stage. They represent us on a committee of 6 that we formed a few years ago to strategize and plan the future of our shared services. They're going to give a report on the partnership of past, present, and the future. Please welcome Greg Reichendorfer from Lower Yellowstone, Landon Myshak from Golden West Electric, and Steve Nile of Mid Yellowstone.
As Alan pointed out, this partnership we formed 10 years ago was established to assist Mid Yellowstone with management. They had a retirement of a long-time CEO and were looking for options. After a discussion with the Lower Yellowstone board, we started with, on a trial basis, and 10 years later, we have access to a team of employees and expertise that has allowed us to enhance our business and future.
We worked on projects together, traded equipment, purchased almost anything together to take advantage of our buying power, and shared ideas to better serve the members of all 3 cooperatives. The synergy between the 3 cooperatives is amazing. It starts at the board level, and those 19 board members have worked together and set up the foundation of what our employees have taken to a level that many cooperatives in the nation only wish they had.
That is so true, and we saw that firsthand. Mid Yellowstone Director Dennis Johnson and I attended a class on shared services recently. And when we paged through the book, we saw that Mid Yellowstone and Lower Yellowstone were featured in a case study. The case study was written before Golden West had joined the shared services, but it discussed how working together saves money for our members, and working together is a priority for all of us. The 3 directors of the 3 co-ops have formed friendships and working relationships where we share ideas and discuss topics that are important to all 3 co-ops. We learn together how to plan and strategize for our members, And we know that we have a challenging future ahead of us. Navigating the energy market and the fast-paced business world isn't easy to do alone, but fortunately for all of us, we aren't doing it alone, we're doing it together for our members.
If we do not work together and plan on how to grow and build off of the success we have right now, all our co-ops will have a much bigger challenge to endure the future. But if we can continue to work together, cooperate with one another, and stay focused on the shared goals and commitment to our members, we can meet the challenges ahead and continue providing reliable service to our membership. What Jason has done with the staffs of all three co-ops, working together, collaborating, creating professional relationships, bonding, and technical support for each other. This is the power of working together. On behalf of the directors of Lower Yellowstone, Mid Yellowstone, and Golden West, I would like to thank you, the membership, for your support as we continue to look for ways to bring cooperatives together even more and ensure your power needs are never in question.
Well said. Thank you three. I just have to say, how proud I am to serve as a CEO for all three of these co-ops. I want to thank the directors. We got a lot of them here tonight. And also the employees, right? And up there you see pictures from all of them. There's 77 of us that work for not individual members, for all members. And a lot of the team you're going to see come out here now, they work for members at Mid and Golden, just like Mid and Golden work for members of Lower Yellowstone. So it takes good people to perform at these high levels that you guys have come to expect. So, in years past, I've usually had to coax these guys out of the tunnel. So this is pretty awesome. I'm impressed. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to introduce to you, which I like to do. I know they hate it, but I like to introduce the team that does keep your lights on. They do the hard work. They're the ones that are up late at night and early in the morning and all day when need be. So I'm going to start over here on my left with the birthday boy. He's 25 today, Chris Hillsland. He's our CEO. He is 25. Pam Wilcoxon is our CFO. Jamie Propp is a manager of member service. I got to move a screen here, and Greg's got the camera going. Let's see. Next I got, Corey Candy. He's our CIO. Tiffany Henches, she's one of our CSRs. Melissa Buckley, plant accountant. Don't even give us a wave? Jeez. Katie Jokum is our CSR billing coordinator. Kelly Kaiser, he's operations manager. Justin King, he's our warehouse supervisor. Aaron Eide, he's one of our operations assistants. Kevin Goff couldn't be with us tonight. He's had a knee surgery, so he's getting the doctor looking at him. Well, now he's in the bathroom, huh? Oh, so he did make it. Well, he is here, but he's our operations assistant. Kyle Kavanaugh is one of our IT guys. He was up here earlier goofing with this picture. Eric McPherson, system controller. Eric is an interesting guy. He's the brains behind controlling your whole system. He's got all the screens in his room. That's what he looks at all day. So if you're wondering if the power's out, he'll know. Tanner Roth could not be with us tonight, but he's one of our linemen. Jeremy Reese, he could not be with us tonight. He's at an IT conference for NRECA. He's an IT tech. Oh, we've got Rich Gordy, one of our linemen. Everyone knows Rich, I know that. Usually he's going to give a speech later tonight. Edwin Gatsky's one of our line locators and kind of a Quetzal, aren't you, Edwin? You did a little bit of everything for us. We appreciate it. Richard Tremblay, energy management supervisor. Richard just decided to take on a new role. He's become a sprayer for us too. So If he stinks a little bit tonight, you know why. Bo Kindop, many of you have seen Bo. I just mentioned Bo. Does a lot of our GIS and easement work out there in the field, so that's tough stuff to do. Ryder Pearson, one of our line workers. Jesse Oberfell, also one of our line workers. Then we got Lee Alstead. He's our mechanic. He keeps everything running for us back there. Preston Long, one of our line workers. Dan Geezer, he's also one of our energy management supervisors. You've seen him in a picture changing meters. He keeps the cash registers going. Tom Hall, he's one of our GIS specialists. He does a lot of our survey work, mapping, and he's kind of a catch-all for us as well. Cole Jankowski, he's one of our line workers. Brandon Mueller, electrician. And we got Jory Bell, one of our line workers. And Trey Skeppins, line worker. Nick Burke, he was new to us last year. He's one of our line workers. And Jagger Gunville as well, one of our line workers. Here we got a couple new guys. Craig Reed, facilities construction coordinator. Probably wondering, what does that do? He builds the substations and puts up the big stuff that makes that transmission power the distribution. So, and John Paul, JP we call him, he is he's a counterpart with Craig. And also here's three new guys too. Luke David, he's new line worker for us just recently, and Morgan Nygaard recently graduated from BSC, I believe, right, Morgan? And he's a new line worker. And then Trey Skeppins came on this year as one of our summer groundsmen, and he plans to go to line school. So, you know, this is an amazing group of people I get to work with, along with the other co-ops. They're dedicated to our members, they're dedicated to their jobs, and they play a vital role in our community and county activities or anything you see around. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, they can go, but I need Jory and Trey to stay, please. And Alan's going to help me with something. So these are their two. There's Trey and Trey's. Then you give them one of these two, okay. And that's Jory's. All right, so like I like to do this. I know these guys hate it. I did warn Jory, but I didn't warn Trey. Because Trey likes to be in the spotlight, don't you, Trey? I love it, he says. So these two guys here, they just achieved a big piece of their career. They both became journeymen this last year, and I would like to honor them with their certificate and their coin that they get from the line school that shows that they've completed all their tests and hours, and they've earned that journeyman line worker status. And Alan is going to hand it to them.
Let me get one more.
Very good. Let's give them a round of applause. That's a big accomplishment.
Good. Okay.
All right. Well, there's one subject yet we haven't touched on tonight, and that's politics. Unfortunately, in the electrical world, we have to keep a close eye on politics at the local, state, and federal level for us. I say this every once in a while to my employees, but I'll never forget my grandfather who taught me a lot about co-ops, and I'll never forget what he said. He goes, co-ops were born by the government, and they will die by the government if you're not part of it. And so we do stay very active with that.
Fortunately for us, our state organizations, both the Montana Electric Cooperative Association and the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Co-ops, have been working hard with legislators on issues that affect the cooperatives in Montana and North Dakota. We have a couple gentlemen here that are in the middle of the battle continuously. And I'm going to invite Joel Coleman, the Director of Government Relations from the Montana Electric Cooperative Association, to give us a quick update on everything politics in Montana.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if it'll be quick or if it'll be much of an update, but I am Joe Coleman. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Montana Electric Cooperatives Association, and I'm pretty new to that role. I've also found that the older I get, the more interested I am in history. I don't know if that is indicative to all of us as we get older. But it's interesting that you're having your 90th annual meeting, and it was 90 years ago that, as Jason said, government created this idea of electrical co-ops and bringing electric power to our rural communities. 90 years in, it looks like it's working. It's going to be okay. In Montana, there are 25 electric co-ops that serve about 400,000 people. So Montana has grown a little bit. So that ends up being about a third of the population of Montana. As I've gotten into the co-ops, you hear the phrase a lot. If you've met one co-op, you've met one co-op. They're not alike. Co-ops are not. They are similar. That's sort of, I think, one of the interesting and beautiful things about co-ops is they operate under a general umbrella, and they are similar, but they each have their very unique and distinct talents and characters and members, and they do things each a little different way. So kind of leads me into why we have an electric cooperative association. As individuals, the co-ops are great individuals, but together we're a lot stronger. So just like that whole co-op way, if Jason was in charge of getting his power, and Dennis was in charge of getting his power, and Lana was in charge of getting her power, well, it might work out for some of them, but when they all get together, it works a lot better. So I think that's sort of the idea of the Electric Co-ops Association. As I've been going to these annual meetings, I think a lot about trying to explain to my dad my new job. And my dad was a mechanic in Harlowton for about 50-some years. And he's like, well, what do you do? And, as I've struggled to do that, I say, well, I go to a lot of meetings. And he's like, yeah, okay. I listen to people. I do a lot of listening, right? Sometimes I talk, and he's still like, he fixes things. Lots of us fix things. The linemen fix things. They end the day with a product. And most days I do not end the day with a product, which is a little hard to comprehend. But what I think I finally started to hit on is what my job is to deal with a whole lot of different organizations and entities and people who in one way or another affect your power bill, your reliability, and everything you depend on electricity for. So that's kind of what I figure I do. That's what I like to think I do when I go to those meetings and we talk about data centers, or we talk about property taxes, or we talk about any number of things from new generation and permitting and how that might work to transmission. And those are a lot of the things that we are talking about in Montana right now. I think over this last year, it's become very clear that at least within this next legislative session and the next few foreseeable congressional sessions, energy and the way we get it and the way we pay for it and the way we use it is going to be one of the biggest issues that we face as a state and as a country. And Mecca's kind of in the middle of that. We went to DC a couple weeks ago with a delegation from Montana. We met with the acting BLM director, and we talked about sage grouse permitting and the Bridger pipeline and permitting in general. And I guess I kind of want to emphasize again, we met with most of the congressional delegation. Again, if I just show up in DC and ask to meet with some people, nobody's going to meet with us. But when we show up with 25 board members and managers, people are going to meet with us. So again, together we are stronger. We talk with them about those issues. We talk about things that are of interest to us, and all of those are going to affect your rates and reliability and everything that you rely on electricity for. So along those lines, we do engage in politics. That's our system of government, and that's the way it works. We do have a political action committee. It's mostly made up of employees of the cooperatives. If you're an employee, you can get $12 a year deducted out of your paycheck, and it goes into the political action committee. You hear a lot about dark money. We are not dark money. Everyone who contributes to the political action committee for the electric cooperatives, you can find their name on the report, And all the money that we give out, you can find on the report. How much it was, how much it went to, who it went to, when we gave it. And in general, when people ask me sort of how we approach that, again, this is my first time doing it, but it's, we're not buying a whole lot of favors with a very small contribution. The maximum contribution right now to a political candidate is $470. So that might buy these days maybe 1 or 2 tanks of gas for them to get across their district. But again, to us, that's worth it. To have people who are run for office and who are engaged in political affairs that affect our members, who are willing to talk to us. And if that means that we can buy them a couple tanks of gas so that when they're campaigning, they can get out and talk to you and find out what's important to you, then that's not a bad part of the political system. I mean, that is actually how it's supposed to work. The candidates are supposed to talk to you. They're supposed to find out what you're concerned about. And in turn, they meet with us. Again, when we're together and we want to talk with someone about an issue, we can have that audience. So we give to Republicans, we give to Democrats, we give to everybody in between and on either side of that. Really, the only thing is that they're interested in our issues and they want to talk about them, and they'll listen. I will end on the same familiar note of us being together. We also have a grassroots network, which is free to join. It's on the link is on our webpage. You can sign up for it. What that will get you is probably once every 2 months or something, I'll do a video that kind of explains some of the current issues of the day. We'll put out an email once or twice, maybe every couple months, so you will not be spammed, I promise. But you will be on the list, and especially when session rolls around, that list is going to be important. There may well be times when I will put out an email blast and say, look, here's an issue that's really important to the co-ops. Here's the name of your representative and your senator. Here's what you can contact them about, and here's what you can tell them this legislation means to you. And it's a pretty slick system, and you might think, well, nobody listens. I can guarantee you they do. I've been at the Capitol when those things start coming in. When I used to work at the Capitol, they used to be on pink slips about 20 years ago, and you would see the pink slips start piling up on representative and senators' desks. Well, now they get emails, and of course, lots of them still like to have their emails printed. So you see the emails starting to pile up. And when they get 200, 300 emails about a particular bill telling them that it matters to the co-ops, I can assure you they listen. So I appreciate your time. I look forward to continuing to stay involved. Thanks.
Now I'd like to invite Josh Kramer to the stage he's the CEO of NDAREC in North Dakota.
All right. Well, Jason, just give me the hook if I start talking too long, but happy to be here today. When Jason asked me if I wanted to come to Montana to speak, I said absolutely. But usually I like to come to places and brag a little bit about North Dakota, and so I'm probably going to hold back on some of my Montana jokes. But I will tell you one that you might enjoy. Not really a joke, but I think Dennis Nelson, you might have told me this. It was shortly after a football game that we had this year, and Dennis came up to me. And by the way, is everybody here named Dennis? I think I know about.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is Dennis.
Dennis over here, but we were at the Midwest Electric Consumers meeting, and Dennis came up to me all concerned. He goes, "Hey, I just need your help lobbying Basin on something." I said, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it'll really improve reliability." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what do you got?" He goes, "Yeah, that new Bison station maybe should be renamed after the Grizz," he said. So, Bobcats. Oh, there you go.
That's what he's done.
Yeah. But anyway, we like to kid like that. And so, thanks, Joe. A lot of the things Joe said, we can also say here in North Dakota, that's kind of our job and what we do. I want to just hit on a couple of things on the federal level that we're working on. And the nice thing about we have Montana statewide, North Dakota statewide, and there's nearly, most states, I think there's only like 3 or 4 that don't have a statewide or some sort of affiliation. But when we go to Washington, D.C., There's 800 co-ops across the country, right? And so when we go to Washington D.C. to lobby on an issue or talk about just what's happening in rural North Dakota, rural Montana, that message is being carried across the country to Democrats, to Republicans, to folks on all levels. And Atlanta was there this year. We'd like to incorporate and encourage co-op directors and managers to come and help strengthen that message. So the things we advocate on a national level are, reliability, of course. We're working on issues regarding making permitting easier right now. But I think the big one is FEMA reform. I know there's a lot of things that you might hear about FEMA, but FEMA really is an essential organization to electric cooperatives. So when we have a disaster, and we cover a lot of miles, right, as electric cooperatives, they can be pretty catastrophic. And I know we've had a few in North Dakota the past few years, and you had a FEMA one
We've had a couple
as well.
of them.
And so the only way to recover those losses for an electric cooperative without charging them to you, the member, is through FEMA. And so there's the FEMA Act of 2025 that's being considered right now. It's a bipartisan bill, and it's really going to do a lot to reform FEMA. FEMA is a good agency. We work well with them. They're essential to us, but I think there is some improvements. It's going to increase the speed of repaying some of those dollars for a disaster. But one of the big things, it's going to allow co-ops to build back better. And so right now, and when there's a FEMA disaster, you're limited to building back the system better than to what it was before.
Yeah.
And so this is a big thing. So you're sometimes wondering, like, why do they put that line underground, right? And so even if you want to do that as a co-op, you aren't allowed to. But this new legislation will allow you to do that. You got to pay the difference still, but it'll give us the ability to build back and to improve reliability there. So those are some of the things on the federal level. On the regulatory front, we have our national affiliate NRECA that's working on things every day, and so it's important that we keep advocating for rural America, for rural North Dakota and Montana. You may read or get the North Dakota Living. But, one of the things we like to do is tell the story of rural people, and not a lot of people do that anymore. A lot of the broadcast stations in my town of Bismarck don't make it outside of the city often, and so it's really important to have a venue like that and a publication to be able to talk about what's going on in rural places. And there's a lot of cool stories in it. Those help us when we advocate for all of you. So jump into kind of the state issues, probably not a lot different from what Joe talked about. But, we on the legislative front, our sessions every other year. We're coming off a session here in 25. But a couple of things that were really important is, I think with all the talk about data centers and load growth, there was an attempt to move the siting of those facilities, those large loads, under the Public Service Commission's jurisdiction. And so I assume Montana is similar, but in North Dakota, rates and utilities are regulated by the Public Service Commission, but as electric cooperatives, you're regulated by your locally elected board of directors. And so sometimes people think, well, that's, why shouldn't they be regulated by the Public Service Commission? But I tell you, it's a lot harder to raise rates, to look your neighbors and your friends in the eye when you're living in those communities than it is for a Public Service Commissioner to justify an increase of the investor-owned. And so, that's one of the things we worked on a statewide level. But those conversations are continuing. You're hearing a lot about data centers, right? You're hearing a lot about load growth. And I like to point out that data centers aren't co-op projects, but we do have an obligation to serve them if we have the capacity to do so, if we have the power available. And so I think it's important that we are open to talking about possibly serving data centers, because they can do a lot of good for a cooperative, a rural area, because they help to pay down those fixed costs. For a small cooperative, if you have a data center that is not going to burden you, if you have the capacity to do that, think of all that load factor, that constant power that's being used every day. That's going to help to rebuild your system, increase reliability. So there is good with it, but there's also some bad. And I think often as electric cooperatives, we get a little bit of a share in the black eye when it comes to some of the bad actors out there. And I'm not going to just say utilities, but whether it's a transmission line build or whether it's a data center project, a lot of times other utilities like to involve co-ops, because they know we do a lot to inform our members and keep them informed on things. And so what's happening in North Dakota is a lot of times the recent data centers that have come in, the community finds out about them. They're like, well, surprise, you're going to get a data center in your backyard. How do you feel about that? And what has kind of happened is some of the developers and maybe some of the utilities, non-cooperative utilities, ask the local community to sign non-disclosure agreements, or sometimes they want the cooperative to come in and say, hey, why don't you sign this non-disclosure agreement? And so then they're limited to what they can talk about. And so what we're advocating for and talking to our members about is, be resistant to signing those, right? Just because somebody might request you to sign one, not everything needs to be done privately. And I think the more transparent we can be as cooperatives, I think the more likely it is that we can get community support for data centers that do make sense. And again, they don't make sense everywhere. They make sense in certain parts of the system, but I think just having a blatant no to them is probably the wrong approach and could be a missed opportunity. But the same comes for when we talk about transmission lines and distribution lines. I think our cooperatives do a heck of a job at working with landowners because they're run by landowners. They serve landowners. And so that's incredibly important. And I think Basin Electric, I think I heard them say they had 2,400 easements, and of those 2,400, they've only had 4 that they had really big issues on, and they couldn't get past. My alarm's going off, Jason. You want me to stop or kind of keep going for a sec?
I didn't send you that either.
But it is because they are landowner focused, and they try to work the best they can. Because again, they're going to be in those communities long after the new, shiny object leaves. And so I think you've seen, especially this part of the world, what can be done in the oil industry and gas industry. If you take a pragmatic, long-term approach, that's what our cooperatives have done consistently with value-added agricultural projects, with oil and gas, with any new development project. They're going to do it with data centers too. They're going to make sure that if there is a need or an opportunity to serve a data center, if the cooperative chooses to do so and is able to do so, it's going to be in the best interest of the membership. And so just want to kind of urge a sense of caution. I think there's been a lot of moratoriums being discussed about that, but I think a blanket approach is never a good approach. And so every community is different, just like every co-op is different. And I guess I'll get off my soapbox there on data centers and development. But again, it's all important. One more couple things I wanted to say, but so similar to Joe talking about the importance of getting involved in politics and political action committees. I mean, dollars is important, right? And we give it to Democrats, Republicans, the folks that are willing to listen to the issues of rural places and rural people, rural electric cooperatives. But I talk about this at every meeting I go to. I know in North Dakota we have term limits, and whether you like term limits or not, they're here. But there's going to be a need for leadership, and there's a need for leadership on all levels. And I'm sure there's many of you in this room that serve on a county commission or obviously co-op board or other school board. And I want to thank you for that. But I also want to encourage you, if you haven't run for anything, to think about it. Whatever stage of your life you're in, maybe you're about to enter another stage of your life where the kids are leaving the house and you might have some extra time. But the fact that you're at this meeting means you're community-minded, you're good stewards, you care about your communities, and those are the kind of people, Democrat or Republican, that we need to run for office, and those are the kind of people that we like to support with our PACs and our political action committees, and also, and work with in our messaging. So again, I don't want to take up all your time. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you, Lower Yellowstone. I want to commend you on your good work. I also want to point out Jason bringing up his employees to read off their name and talk a little bit about them. That doesn't happen everywhere. So I want to thank you for that, and keep up the good work, and we'll see you maybe next year.
Thank you very much. So I got just a couple things I want to point out from both those gentlemen. Joe, Josh, thank you very much for coming and speaking, but they both said something about political action group and getting updates. Please meet with them after the meeting, even if you would like to get on that email list or whatever. Joe, I know, said it's on the website, but sometimes it's easy to talk to Joe, and same thing with Josh. And I know they've been at other annual meetings. Joe was just at one with me and Mid-Yellowstone, and what'd you get? You got a few people out of the crowd come up to you right away, didn't they? They didn't even try to take the cake from you were eating. So, and one other thing they did not say is our two statewides work very well together. So when they were in D.C. together, or when we were all as co-ops in DC, Montana and North Dakota get together. And we have with the directors, the managers, and our delegation, we talk to them together, which is, I think, vital. And so our two states do work very close. And so if you're wondering why those two are both here, is because Lower Yellowstone is one of few who are part of both statewides. There's not very many co-ops that have that. So we're very fortunate. We got good people. So yeah, thank you very much. So, but in the end here, to kind of wrap up our report part, Alan, I just want to say thanks to the membership, thanks to my board, the 77 people, the staff and that you've seen on the screen. You know, our goal is to supply you with reliable power. Do it at the lowest cost we can, and we take that very seriously here at Lower Yellowstone.
You know, I remember here, it's been several years ago now, but I remember when Montana went to term limits. And, you know, we had, at Mecca, we had established relationships with a lot of the long-term representatives and senators that had been there for years. And so if a bill came up that we needed action on or we wanted to nudge on, all it took was a phone call and a bill number, and they were generally supportive. If they had questions, of course, they'd ask them. But when the term limits kicked in, it basically doubled or tripled or quadrupled the load that these guys have to do, because you get a whole new field of people that, not necessarily against co-ops, but they just you don't have that connection. And so you have to rebuild those connections every 3 years as these people, you know, get turned out. And so it's a way bigger project than it used to be, and I really admire them and appreciate what they do. The bottom line, though, is that we have a great staff and management, and our financials are clean, and we're ready to meet the future, and we're just going to keep working together. So thank you all for supporting your co-op. At this time, I would like to invite our attorney, Dana Henkel, to come up, and she will give the board election results.
Hi, everyone. Like he said, my name's Dana Henkel, and I'm with For Holden Henkel Terrazas, and I have the privilege of being one of the attorneys for the co-op. The nominating committee met on March 3rd and consisted of Kirk Panasek, Mike Wilson, Kyle Coppinger, Cheyenne Rauschendorfer, Brian Legan, and Lana Watson. This year, the committee nominated one candidate for each district, and therefore the election is by acclamation, with Dennis Nelson being reelected to represent District 5, Greg Rauschendorfer being elected to represent District 6, and in District 7, Alan Thiessen was reelected. Thank you to the nominating committee, and congratulations to the directors.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you all for allowing us to work together and serve in a job that is enjoyable and productive. Appreciate that.
Jamie's up.
Yep.
She's got a long speech.
So I don't have any funny jokes to tell, unfortunately, but I got the best part. I get to give stuff away. So Lower Yellowstone has had a long-standing tradition of awarding scholarships during its annual meeting. This year, the applicants were asked to submit a journal entry from their phone's perspective on a day without electricity. They were also asked to submit a photo of what their phone's choosing to enhance their entry. So we are pleased to announce the following students have been selected for a $1,000 scholarship. If any of the recipients are present tonight, please stand while your name is being announced. Aubrey Whiteman. Abe Norby. Bryn Hill. Shandy Johnson. Eva Hines. Evie Karen, Grady Swenson, Haley Holsworth, Hallie Iverson, Hallie Shantz, Cade Samuelson, Callie Hopes, Kenna Harrelson, Kinley Wieland, Lauren Prevost, Parvina and Sean Kulatha.
Very good.
was a hard one.
Very good.
Robert Knotts. And last but not least, Wyatt McPherson. So this year the board decided they wanted to do a little something special this year. So we ended up, whoever had applied for these scholarships, if they showed up tonight with a parent and registered, and they're here when their name is drawn, they have a chance to win another $1,000 scholarship. So we're gonna give 3 of those away tonight, right here.
Do I draw or do you draw? Oh, drum roll. So I draw?
Drum roll.
Okay.
Okay. Good, I can blame you, not me.
Yeah, that's right.
Ave Norby. Shandy Johnson.
Nice.
All right, last one.
And Grady Swenson.
I'll read that. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. I'm gonna have you guys meet me in the back at the end of the meeting and I'll grab pictures from everybody. So I would like to introduce Ave Norby. She was actually our youth tour representative on the 2005 youth tour, and she's gonna do a little talking about her trip and let us know how it went. So please welcome Ave.
Okay, so this use your slides. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Here.
All right. Hello. I'll try and make this short and sweet. As Jamie said, I'm Ave Norby. I just graduated from Sydney High School like 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm going to present on I attended the youth tour trip last summer, 2025. I just want to start by, thanking all of you guys in the co-op for having this opportunity for this trip. It teaches you, or you get to see so many parts of the nation's capital, and you get to learn about other rural, small Montana towns and meet kids from all these different towns, and then you get to learn a lot about how our government, their relationship with like rural communities and obviously co-ops, which is really interesting, and I feel like I never realized that before. So I'm just gonna give you guys a small recap of my week. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so the first day when we got there, we went to the National Harbor, and we did a little scavenger hunt and took like fun pictures to kind of break the ice and create our relationships with the other Montana kids. So those pictures are on the right, and then on the left is when we ate dinner. And then another big part about the first day is when we got to the hotel, we took a co-op and advocacy class. So we learned a lot about electric co-ops, why they're necessary and important for rural communities to have. And then we learned the importance of the co-op's relationship with the government, as we've talked about throughout this meeting, and the importance of like advocating and how we can advocate for ourselves. So that was really fun to hear about that. Okay. And then the next day, we went to some memorials. We went to Arlington National Cemetery. We went to the White House and the People's House, which is like a replica of the White House, which that was really, really cool. We went to the National Archives, and that was fun. We saw the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Magna Carta, which learning about those like this year in government and how important they are for the foundations of our country. It's so cool to actually see them, and then it's more impactful, I feel like, because you really can understand what's going on. And then we also went to a baseball game. That was really fun. So there were like 5 home runs, so that was awesome. Okay. The next day we got a tour, or we went to the Capitol, and then we got a tour of the Capitol with Representative Downing's staff. And that was really interesting, really cool to actually be where the people are and the decisions are being made. And then the other thing we did, which was actually my favorite part of the whole trip, which you wouldn't really expect it, but it was, is we went to and we toured the Naval Academy. That's what the 2 pictures on the left are of. And then that guy is our tour guide. He was really cool, really informational and funny. And then one big part that I want to talk about at the Naval Academy is it was so cool to just see everything is in one place, and like the support of all the like professors and the people that work there, and the camaraderie between the students, and like the activities that they had. We just like saw all the action going on, and I was like, oh, like this would be such a cool place to like live and grow and learn and stuff. And that actually contributed a lot to my decision to go to college, like far away from home, and that kind of started me thinking about that. So that was a big, important part of the trip for me. And then, and then on the next day, it was kind of our nice day. We wore these like fancy polos. We went to coffee with the delegations. So we went and talked to Senators Sheehy and Daines, and we got to ask them questions and kind of talk about our own perspectives in like our rural communities and stuff like that. And that was really, really fun. And they like engaged with us and kind of told us how what we see and think like translates to their job, and that was really cool. And then we also went to the Supreme Court that day, and then we went on a boat cruise, which you can kind of see. It's not a great picture, but it was like a 2-level boat, and there was music and stuff, which was really cool. And yeah, okay. Then the next day we went to the Battle of Gettysburg. And that was kind of an all-day thing. We watched a film about it. We walked through the museum on it, and then we actually got a tour, which is what these pictures of where the actual battle was. And that was really, really cool because you learn about history, right? But actually like being there on the ground where it was, and our tour guide would be like, so they came over this hill and then they did this, and I don't exactly remember all the details, but that was just so cool to like see where it really was, and the geography and how far like this battle was from that battle, stuff like that. And then that night after we got back, we went to the NRECA All States event, which is the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. All the states that brought kids to the youth tour, we had a big, we were in like this big room like this, and they did like a presentation where they mostly announced the people that got on the Youth Leadership Council, and then there were 2 people that talked. One was a girl like our age, and she talked about her mental health journey, which was really, really good. She did a great job. And then the other guy that talked was this guy in the corner, and he got shot accidentally by his best friend when he was in high school, and he kind of talked about how he got through that, and then he won Olympic medals in wheelchair basketball, and he was actually, not to be like cliche, but he was like really inspiring. He did a really good job, and he was probably one of the funniest speakers I've ever listened to too, so that was a lot of fun. The next day, we went to some more monuments. We went to memorials. We went to the Smithsonian's. We got a few hours at those, which was really cool. This is a picture at the Air and Space one. And then I included the other picture because I kind of wanted to talk about our chaperones. There's like chaperones on the trip, and they're really cool. They're really supportive. And this is me braiding one of their hair. And so that was a lot of fun. And then so this was our last day. And so that night we got to have a dance with all of the youth tour groups. There was like a big party dance, and that was a lot of fun for our last night, and we got to meet a lot of kids from other states, so that was cool. Okay, and then this is just the last slide. I was going to talk about just the big perks, I would say. So first, I would say the connections that you make are so cool, not only to the kids from other states that you meet. We even like trade like little pins with states on them, so that starts like the conversation, and you talk to kids from a lot of states, but also the connections of kids from other places in like rural towns in Montana. Obviously there's like a lot, but there's rural towns everywhere. Like this one kid was from Lima, Montana, which I had never heard of, which is like super, it's like south and west, so nothing like Sydney. And so that was cool. And they were all so nice and so fun to talk to. And then the t-shirts that you get a t-shirt to wear every day, which is really cool, and they're nice. Here's one of them, and we obviously look cool in all of our pictures with our matching t-shirts, you know? So that's really cool. And then the food, which I didn't talk about yet, but they feed you like kings. Like every single meal is really, really good, and we go to a lot of different like restaurants with like different types of food, so they kind of diversify it and like broaden your horizons, I guess I would say. We even went to Ben's Chili Bowl, which was cool. That like a lot of celebrities have been there and stuff. We learned about, and it was really good. So that part's great. And then the hotel, I also didn't talk about. The hotel that you're staying, it's right on the National Harbor, and it's huge. It's so beautiful. There's like a top floor that's only for youth tour kids, and where you just get to keep making connections and play games. That's awesome. And then the last thing is that it's free to the kids, thanks to all of you and the co-op, which is awesome. I just want to say, I know a lot of you guys, not just the co-op, but you guys are involved in like the rest of the community. I'm so grateful to grow up and be a part of this community that supports and provides so many opportunities to its students. It's amazing. And then I've also learned through this trip and my government class that I was in this year that I think our community really prepares students to be active and engaged citizens and like be ready for future challenges. So I think that that's super awesome. I would encourage anybody to go on the trip for sure and apply. It's a lot of fun. And if anyone ever has any questions about it, please ask. And yeah, thank you for allowing me to talk about my trip and for listening.
Thank you, very good. I like that she wore her shirt. That is awesome. So, and like Ave said, I'm just going to put a plug in too. Please, if you know any student that may think about going, have them talk to someone who has been there in the past. I know at the other co-ops too, we've had that, and it's that peer-to-peer that I think helps push this program along. We enjoy supporting that youth program, so please encourage anyone to do it. I think Colin now is up. He's got the big job here. He's got to give away some prizes, so he's going to first give a little spiel about one of them. But Colin, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Jason, and very well done, Ave. I would give $1 million to be your age again. You have such a bright future ahead of you, and just take advantage of all these opportunities that are given you. As a Lower Yellowstone REC member, you get 15% off several attractions in Medora, along with lodging at specific locations. If you plan to visit Medora this summer, don't forget to use the code TOUCH2026 when making your reservations or purchasing tickets?
Gee.
Okay, now we're going to draw for the door prizes, which is a fun part. To be eligible to win a prize, you must be present when your name is called. And if you are one of our lucky winners, please pick up your prizes in the back of the room immediately following the meeting. Also, if you win the grand prize or the bikes, please go to the back of the room by the prize table to get your picture taken with them. Okay, the door prizes aren't listed on the
No, we did not
overhead
put them on the
screens.
screen this year. It's all you.
Okay, it's all me, okay. Okay, the first door prize, 2 Medora musical tickets. Donetta Miller. The second door prize, a DeWalt drill, Harold Schlothauer. The next door prize, an LED rechargeable flashlight, Rob Knotts. The next, a heavy-duty surge protector, Tom Irgoyne. The next door prize, 2 Medora musical tickets, Zachary Johnson. The next door prize, a 50-foot extension cord, Mark Rabine.
Good.
The next door prize, a DeWalt drill bit and screwdriving bit set, Ray Franz. Medora musical tickets, Doug Watts. The next door prize, an American Express card, Laurel Art. The next door prize, a Milwaukee drill bit set, Wilbur Hill. The next door prize, an Ace gift card, Angie Hopes. The next door prize, an Impact driver set, Calvin Clemmer. The next door prize, 2 Medora musical tickets, Nathan Fatzinger. The next door prize, a 25-foot extension cord, George Lamphere. The next door prize, an American Express card, Judy Elbin. The next door prize, a neck and shoulder massager, Clay Lammers. The next door prize, an Ace gift card, Ryan Karen. The next door prize, a Milwaukee drill bit set, Terry Nelson. The next door prize, 2 Medora musical tickets, Jeff Johnson. The next door prize, an Ace gift card, Scott Watkins. The next door prize, a Craftsman ratchet set, Dean Stepler. The next door prize, a Home Depot gift card, Andrea Zielinski. The next door prize, 2 Medora musical tickets, Wayne Eschenbacher. The next door prize, a plant, Chuck Lohman. And the last door prize is another plant, William Rabine Jr. Okay, now come the girls and the boys bike winners. And again, I want to remind you to meet in the back for pictures. The winner of the girls' bike is Brindler Karen. And the boys' bike winner, Samuel Buxbaum. Congratulations. And then the grand prize, which is a 3,800 watt portable generator, Monty Martin. Okay? Congratulations to all the door prize winners. And I want to thank HDR Engineering, Wesco, Resco, CFC, and Irby for donating prizes to our annual meeting. And again, you can pick up the prizes after the meeting is over in the back of the meeting room. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay.
Speaking of political influence, a police officer called the station on his radio. He said, "I have a very interesting case here. An old lady shot her husband for stepping on the floor that she just mopped." And they said, "Well, have you arrested the woman?" And he said, "Not yet, the floor's still wet." Any questions or anything that you have, you can please email them to Lower Yellowstone or LYREC meeting at lyrec.coop. And the questions and the answers, along with the video of this meeting, will be posted on our website under the 2026 annual meeting tab. So thank you for that, for doing that, and for coming tonight, and for everything that made this work. Before I adjourn, I'm going to share a quote from Willie Nelson. He said, "If you wait for tomorrow to follow your dreams, by the time you get there, they'll be gone." So,
Yeah, that's a good one.
so, and at this time, I'm going to declare this 2026 annual meeting as adjourned. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.